In the summer of 2000, Celtic supporters were licking wounds after a fairly calamitous season under the stewardship of John Barnes and Kenny Dalglish that saw the Hoops finish 21 points behind arch-rivals and SPL title winners Rangers. Leicester City manager Martin O'Neill travelled north of Hadrian's Wall and was appointed manager tasked with healing those wounds, which were also festering in the dressing room, as quickly as he possibly could.
You talk about inheriting a team, yes, they were definitely dispirited, there's no question about that. I remember Tommy Boyd once saying to me that he didn't feel that even though that the gap was, it looked on paper very, very severe, he didn't think that they were, that they were 21 points worse team than Rangers. That's all well and good. The fact is that you do end up finishing there, so you're only as good as your position.
This was a Celtic team apparently in need of major surgery if they were to challenge for the league title, the absolute minimum expectation of the team by the clubs demanding support. In the preceding season, they took a solitary point from a possible 12 against Rangers, and from Halloween onwards managed to string 3 wins together only once. They'd been part of a failing squad, but players like Henrik Larsson, Paul Lambert and a young Stan Petrov had quality coming out their ears, but they needed a change in leadership, a sentiment shared by Slovak maverick Lubo Moravcik.
Rangers has been dominating during 10 years, except one title. Celtic needs to change. It was necessary to make something different because season with John Barnes started well, but the middle of the season we had a lot of problem and John finished. And I think the directors brought a good coach like Martin, and Martin made good recruitment. Season started well. Celtic been back on the competition.
Paul Lambert was the club's vice captain.
I just had a feeling Martin O'Neill came that things were going to start to move for the club, I think, in the right direction. And the team was getting stronger. Physically we were getting stronger. The way we played was getting stronger. The team was gathering momentum.
However, O'Neill just needed a needle and a few sutures to get the club back on its feet while warning they shouldn't try to run before they could walk. Belgian defender Jos Vilharen and Chelsea striker Chris Sutton were quickly brought in for nearly £10 million combined, while Mark Viduka and Aile Berkovic were the 2 highest profile departures. Although Vilharen and Sutton immediately improved the starting 11, the most influential change in the dressing room that summer was the respect commanded by the new manager.
His biggest thing is, I'd say he was quiet, but he was very intelligent, a very intelligent man.
Celtic fullback Jackie McNamara.
When he came into a room, you listened. He could shut you down in a second if anybody would cross a line. Not that anybody did very often. He was quietish, but he wasn't approachable all the time. He kind of standoffish with the players. He didn't get too close to the players, at certain times, and sort of commanded that respect. I remember watching a programme about Clough, and there's a lot of similarities with Matt had taken from working with Clough when he was younger.
Celtic started the season well and won their first 3 games, all by a 1-goal margin. Sutton's injury time winner at Tannadice got the ball rolling before Motherwell and Kilmarnock were taken care of at Celtic Park. Hearts were then beaten at Tynecastle to make it 4 wins from 4. Then it was Rangers at home.
I think I might have said, maybe to my embarrassment, I thought that it's possible to win the league but not win any of the Old Firm games. Now, which is the most important thing? Obviously, winning the league is the most important thing. But try telling that to Celtic fans, that you go through a season that you think you've won the league and you can't beat Rangers along the way. The games are very, very important for every reason under the sun. Not only just points at 3 points that can go either way, but psychologically, for the well-being of one club and for the ill-being of the other club. Really, really important games.
We'd still not long gone through the Tommy Burns period where we were playing fantastic football but just couldn't beat Rangers.
Brian Gilmour's been a season ticket holder at Celtic Park for 30 years.
That was still in our minds, that they were the superior team, but you could start to sense that transformation.
And those senses were tingling with good reason, but while there was cause for optimism under the new regime, not many believed a turnaround would be such an explosive one, including in the SPL boardroom.
If there's not uncertainty of result, people kind of check out. That may not be the case up in Scotland, but we had sold our rights to a national broadcaster that was trying to take Scottish football into the UK market.
Then SPL Chief Executive and Celtic fan Roger Mitchell was desperate for a home win for professional reasons just as much as passionate ones.
That's how you think of it. You need a close league if you're marketing a sports product. What I couldn't afford was the league being dead before the break or in March, which I think Rangers had done the previous 2 years. That would have been a disaster for me. So I would have taken 3-0 or I'd have taken 5-0. For me, I think it was important Celtic won. And as I say, not as a Celtic fan.
4 consecutive wins for both clubs set the game up perfectly. The sun was splitting the sky and rising quicker than estimated on Celtic's new dawn. Of that, there was no question. What still needed answering was, would it be a false one? It was only O'Neill's 5th competitive game in the Celtic Park dugout.
With some big moments, the opening game of the season where we beat Dundee United, got a late goal. Chris Sutton scored a late goal to win that 2-1. I think we'd beaten Hearts the previous week at Tynecastle, so that was a boost in itself, to go and win this game. So we're going in unbeaten. But having said that nothing, and absolutely nothing, prepares you for the atmosphere, for everything that I possibly could have imagined beforehand. It was absolutely incredible. Sun shining, early kick-off, crowds in. Rangers crowd behind the goal, the atmosphere, it was really electric.
Jackie McNamara had been part of the Celtic team dominated by Rangers for 2 seasons and felt the gale force winds of change sweeping through Celtic Park in the week leading up to the game. But the new boss made sure they weren't blown off their feet.
It was Martin's first Old Firm game. I think, right away he brought a sense of sort of winning mentality, and I think the fans could see that, the excitement in the crowd and the build up to it. But again, Martin was very good at keeping us calm. That was his real strengths in the dressing room before the game and how he handles the players.
Lubo Moravcik, arguably the most talented player in the league, was starting his 3rd season at the club and scored twice in a 5-1 win over Rangers in 1998, while his compatriot Dr. Joseph Venglos was in charge.
Always Mr. Venglos told me then, if you're ready physically, after you have never problem for the second part, it's football. And that I always said, that atmosphere give you a lot of energy. You go on the pitch, say, come on, and you run there, the people, wow, come on, boys. After you have to be player. Secondly, play. First, mentally strong, be fighting guy, fighting boy. After footballer. For football, I didn't have problem, And the team been prepared like that. Come on, boys. We are ready physically, and we know play football.
His central midfield partner Paul Lambert concurs.
When you look at our team that time, it physically matched Rangers, and I think that was a big aspect. Even though we're physical, we were a right good side, and I think that certainly helped us. So I don't think there was any inferior, because I thought Martin had started to build a really strong side, and we were playing really well. I think we started the season really well at that point, but I don't think anybody thought we'd have been 3-0 up within 11 minutes.
Quite. Celtic flew out the traps at Parkhead. There may not have been a cloud in the sky above the stadium, but a thunderous performance was swirling around the pitch below. The first clap came after just 51 seconds when Chris Sutton stroked the ball home, following a few seconds of pinball in the Rangers box.
Moravcik sends it in, and Stubbs and Larson are there, and it's turned in by Chris Sutton.
The electricity was crackling around the stands, and the voltage turned up even higher 7 minutes later when Stan Petrov furiously met a Moravcik corner at the back post to head the ball across goal and into the bottom corner.
Celtic seeking a second. Moravcik sends it in, and they have a second! And it's Petrov who wasn't picked up, and it gets better and better for Martin O'Neill and for Celtic.
3 minutes afterwards, the currents at Parkhead could have powered the entire city when Paul Lambert rattled home a third.
Moravcik could be in, and they're queuing up here. It's another one for Paul Lambert. 3 for Celtic. And in paradise, this is the stuff that Celtic dreams are made of.
It was truly an inconceivable beginning to the game.
And for us to get off to the type of start that we got off to was just mesmeric, really. We've scored 3 goals in the first 11 minutes. And it's almost disbelief time.
The noise that day was incredible. I mean, it was all Old Firm games are like that. But when you're having that kind of moment where you're 3-0 up in 11 minutes, it becomes tenfold.
And it was just, there's still a long way to go in the match as well. You know, you're like, not get too carried away, but it was a great feeling, great noise.
That game, after 11 minutes, was sparkling. Even thinking about it now, it still sends the shiver down the back. When that third goal goes in, there is a sense of electricity that all of us still feel.
Brian Gilmour was watching on from the North Stand.
Even thinking about it, talking to you just now, the massive grin on my face, because it was just incredible. We had been suppressed by Rangers for so long. It's been rammed down our throat that there is this financially superior, just automatically superior football team across the city from us that are just so much better than us. We'll never be as good as them. And just everything about it is rammed down our throats for 15 years, is then just released in those first 10-15 minutes.
Lubo Moravcik holds cult hero status at Celtic. His ability with both feet and artistry on the pitch sum up the craft fans want to see in their team, and at 35 years old, the home support wouldn't have too much longer to enjoy it. Given a free role in central midfield against Rangers, the Slovak delivered the corners that led to the first 2 goals before he latched onto a Bobby Petta through ball. Cruyff turned past Barry Ferguson and put the ball on a plate for Lambert arriving on the edge of the box.
It's funny because when you hit shots, you tend to know they're going to go in. It's a strange kind of thing. You know that when you've hit it, you think that's going in. And that was the same as at that point where Lubo does a turn on the byline and cuts it back. And the way I hit it, I had to cut across it because there's too many bodies in front of me, so I had to kind of cut across it with my right foot to hit it not on the outside of my foot really. And if I hit it straight, I think they'd have blocked it or Stefan would have saved it, but the way I've hit it is into that side, and as soon as it kind of left my foot, I just thought it's going to go in.
I remember that game was really atmosphere, full game, whole game was crazy atmosphere because many nice goals. I remember a goal where I gave final pass to Lambert. He scored a nice goal to the corner. The last final pass, it was my role. Scored the goal, it was my role. Corners, free kicks, set up pieces. I think I was prepared for this game. Physically, mentally, I was very happy. I had impact in that game because I made 4 final pass. What passes? What is for a player like me? It's good result on the game. Good statistic.
It nearly didn't pan out as smoothly for Moravcik with O'Neill at the helm, as a touch of myopia distorted the new manager's initial impression of the midfielder when he left Leicester for Celtic. It took a pre-season conversation for a mutual understanding to develop.
We were out, I think, at pre-season. Pre-season was pretty tough for us, really, in some of the games. And Henrik, of course, was with Sweden in the Euros, and Lubo was there. And one particular game, and it was hellish, to tell you the truth. We did not play well. But anyway, I had a bit of a tete-a-tete with Lubo in the dressing room afterwards, basically saying to him something like along the lines that, you'll not be much good to me if you can't run. And I think Lubo just put down the boots and had a little look up, and they said, well, you just watch, just have a little look and see if you change your mind in the next couple of months. And I changed my mind a lot more quickly than that.
We had a discussion what role I can have in this team. I told him, listen, my best position is free behind 2 strikers, or maybe second striker, but free, and a free position. I think he understood then what can be my role in this team. And I think I had good form because I started season well, I had good form, and he took this decision to make the difference. That was my football, make a difference.
I still believe in my career, when I have played and worked with some phenomenal players, phenomenal players, European Cup players, European Cup winners and things that you see, that Moravcik is the best two-footed player that I've ever seen in the flesh. Wonderful ability, absolutely wonderful, and can turn players. It would have been great to have had him at 26 instead of 86 by the time I got him.
Rangers just couldn't cope with the hurricane they'd stumbled out their safe Govan haven into. It wasn't meant to be like this for them. Van Bronckhorst, McCann, Ferguson, Amoruso, Rickson, Dodds and the rest were turning to dust in front of their fans' eyes. Surely there must have been some tactical masterclass behind Celtic's rampant start. Right, Paul?
We never really needed a lot of tactical stuff because we were good players and good team, so we just fitted in really well. We knew if we played our game, we would be... I think the team at that time was getting stronger and stronger every passing game. So when you look at our team that time, it physically matched Rangers at that time, and I think that was a big aspect. Even though we were physical, we were a right good side, and I think that certainly helped us.
Oh, surely there was more to it than that, Jackie.
Just do our jobs. I think that was a simple plan, do our jobs, and I think that's one thing that Martin always instilled in his players. We all knew our jobs and what we were supposed to do, and make sure we got the best, we got the better of the opposition there, or the guy you're up against. That was the plan of the day. Make sure you win that battle.
Bobby Petta was no youngster and seen by most in the Celtic support as a signing that represented the club's stagnation in recent years. Enter O'Neill and the shackles were off down the left side from the first whistle.
Fernando Rickson had been one of those acting in a very superior fashion Rangers players at the time. Gets hooked in that game after 22 minutes because he's just getting ripped apart by Bobby Petter, who had been this caricature of a dreadful signing. I mean, it was everything that people had caricatures about bad signings at Celtic was encapsulated in Bobby Petter. And suddenly under Martin O'Neill, he is just ripping them apart.
Martin turned round players. That was a game that, like Bobby Petter, probably his best game for Celtic. He gave Fernando Rickson a hard time, God rest him, in that match. And Bobby, I think Bobby still lives off that match.
And he wasn't the only one with a new lease of life under the new management team.
I love Stilian. I think that, my word, I know it'd be nice to have his good looks as well too. But he was just a young lad coming into the side. And it's one of those where, without that sort of determination that he's had always within his character, he could easily have gone under at a club like Celtic, so easily gone under, So it was great for him, but his ability on the field was, to me, was the most important thing. And he could deal with the ball, which was great. He could thrust forward with it against Rangers as well too, for a very, very young lad, very new to everything again. And yeah, I think that you could say that goal was the making of him.
Rangers did claw their way back into the game. I don't think we'll ever truly know if Claudio Reina's header crossed the line as Johnny Gould smothered it down at his left-hand post, but Stuart Dougal and his refereeing team said it did. Rod Wallace was then judged to have gone a fraction early before clipping the ball over Gould from quite a tight angle. He was bang in line, and so Celtic went in 3-1 ahead at the break.
I think Martin was just as usual. Don't let them in. Keep doing your jobs. They'll come back at you, and they're not to get complacent. And even though they're winning at half time, it's 0-0. We'll go out and win the second half. The job's not done yet.
I know that my conversation with the players would be very much along the lines that this game is in the balance. We have had a magnificent start. We've scored some great goals. It has given us a massive boost of confidence. Go out and play. You know that you're capable of competing. If not beating this team, you're in a great, great position. But remember, this game is a long 45 minutes ahead. Next goal becomes very, very important.
And wow, did they get the next goal.
Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational!
I mean, it was a fantastic goal by a fantastic player. We launched it up the field at the stage because it broken. I think Goldie actually spotted a kind of situation where maybe a 2v3 or something like that. Anyway, I think there was a bit of a wrestling match with Sutton laying it down to him, and then after that, there it was just absolutely magnificent.
Paul Lambert was watching from the dugout after being substituted with a groin injury.
That's why he was our best striker. Henry could make goals out of nothing. I mean, I think he nutmegged Bert Conterman. I don't think he knew what was going on. Obviously nutmegs him and then he does a chip. But Stephen, he had no chance. He had absolutely no chance. I said before, if anybody you wanted in front of goal at that time would have been Henry. His goal scoring record was phenomenal.
Lubo Moravcik takes a slightly more psychological view of the moment, rather than just salivate over the aesthetics.
That goal was a good example how we've been on this game. Ready physically and free in the mind, And Henrik show everybody how we are ready,
Brian Gilmour had the perfect view as Larsson raced through on goal.
Everything about it is iconic and picturesque. It's not just that he chips Kloss, it's the fact that it just skims underneath the bar and then rolls down the back of the net. The way the ball boys then turn and look at each other in disbelief and hug each other. There's so much about that is an iconic goal. It's up there with the sort of top, certainly the top 3 or 4 goals in my lifetime of Celtic goals.
It was a huge moment for the team and the support, but also for SPL Chief Executive Roger Mitchell, who would hope to capitalise on Larsson launching himself into the UK spotlight.
We had seen Henrik, as I say, going back to the St Johnstone game, and that season he had done well. Barmsey started well, then got the dreadful leg break. Nobody really knew who Henrik Larsson was yet, and that game was his kind of like coming out party. At least in the eyes of the general footballing public.
Larsson's goal looped in after 49 minutes, and it was the perfect way to start the second half for O'Neill.
It was as if, when he went for the chip, it was as if, 60,000 people just actually were silent for that second or two, and then the next thing you know, it erupts. And seeing it back when you see the ball boys behind the goal making this phenomenal jump, real Celtic fanatics and lads who are only maybe 12, 13, 14, they're jumping in the air with delight, and a 4-1 lead at that stage into the second half.
And the restoration of a 3-goal cushion was enough momentarily to settle any second half nerves among the support.
At that point, you're starting to believe, right, this is it. It's 4-1, we can go on and do this. You still had a few nerves because just shortly after they get a penalty.
And it was buried by Billy Dodds. Back to 4-2 with more than half an hour to go. I wonder if Paul Lambert thought it was game on again with the reduced deficit?
No, definitely no. We were strong. I know they scored and got back into it, but we got them where we wanted them. The team was strong. The atmosphere was incredible. I just didn't feel threatened.
Instinct proved correct. Less than 10 minutes later, Larsson found a few yards in the box and magnificently glanced home Petter's cross.
Petter delivers. Larsson's header! He's done it again! It's a double for Henrik Larsson! It's number 5 for Celtic!
It's arguably the most important goal of the 8th that afternoon, according to O'Neill.
Rangers got back into it again with a penalty kick, and for a little while you felt this game is still in the balance. Next goal becomes really important. Henrik scores it with a header to make it 5-2.
With Rangers kept at arm's length for a second time, the unanimous feeling around Celtic Park, away end included, seemed to be the points were only going one way.
It was really when the 5th goal went in, when Larsson's header went in, from that point on you felt that not only did our players really believe, you knew the supporters really believed, you also felt they didn't. That was the key. That was also the point when you knew that they didn't believe that they could do it.
If you have 2-3 goals up, it's difficult for the team. Even it's very strong comeback on the position.
Those sentiments are shared by Lubo Moravcik.
That game, I think we had under control all the time, because if Rangers score, we score. That was psychologically very important. Rangers been thinking we are back. No, you are not back. We are again score. That was very hard for Rangers to be back on this game.
Barry Ferguson was given his marching orders for realising the only way he could stop a Celtic breakaway was with his hand, and Rangers just wanted the final whistle. It didn't come quickly enough for them though, with Chris Sutton adding a 6th and his 2nd in injury time on his Old Firm debut.
Victor now has released Stefan Mahi. Have Celtic got another one left in them? Sutton is there! Yes, they have! Sutton scores! It's 6 of the best, for the very best today. Celtic!
I'm reliving it now. I think the first time that I breathed a sigh of relief was when Sutton scored the 6th goal, and I look and I think there's about 2 minutes left in the game, and I think, yeah. And Chris became an incredibly important member of the side, again in every aspect, both in the dressing room, what he did in the field, and as you say, that bit of swagger, that bit of arrogance carrying through, and obviously a great player to play with. And I think Henrik Larsson appreciated that as well too for us. So it became very, very important.
It was just absolutely amazing.
Brian Gilmour couldn't quite believe what he was seeing from the North Stand.
It's one of those things that's absolutely brilliant in life, is to score a goal in a game that you're winning in the 90th minute. Because it's just so satisfying, because you can just enjoy and celebrate that 90th minute goal better than any other goal in the game, because you absolutely know that you've won the game. It wasn't just that we'd won. It wasn't just that we'd won and beaten Rangers. It was the fact that we'd humiliated them.
So Celtic's winning start to the season continued while ending Rangers at the same time, and the players didn't look back. Did the margin of victory that day set the tone for the treble-winning campaign?
Without a doubt, yeah. That, as I say, we started the season well that year, and then that game just became a juggernaut really, and then it just went from there and got stronger and stronger, and then it just went from there. That was like unstoppable. That just the way the atmosphere was and the actual way the game was itself.
That game came very early in the season. A 6-2 made big difference, and even Rangers start to be careful. Oh, Celtic is back, strong team, 6-2. Mentally, we took advantage.
It definitely helped. Yeah, helped the confidence, I think, and obviously belief between the players and the supporters that there was a change that happened really quickly. A real change in mentality and belief in the club was incredible. Getting to the FA Cup finals, and for me that was the start of it. That belief in that the players could get from that, but also the fans that we could go and beat anybody.
It was a perfect outcome for Celtic, but also for the SPL itself and their quest to market the league throughout the UK.
I had achieved what I wanted to achieve on that first day. We knew it wasn't going to be a runaway Rangers league. That was a tick for me. Afterwards, Celtic go on to win it, Rangers go on to win it. It's close, it's not close, it's all relative. What I didn't want was another 3 in a row Rangers runaway league. That would have been difficult to market.
Fourth place Rangers did thump Celtic 5-1 in the next Old Firm fixture, but with the disparity between the two already at 15 points by that stage, it didn't matter too much.
In November time, we did go to Rangers. They beat us 5-1 in the game, and then a couple of nights later, I know this, I remember this distinctly, we went to Hibs and we drew 0-0 at Easter Road. So suddenly we dropped 5 points in 2 games when we were looking reasonably comfortable. And by that stage, I felt as if there was a steadfastness about the team that, that okay, those points should drop. That's not the end of the world, and it wasn't to take away at all from our magnificent victory in August time. So just buckle down, get on with it. And that's what we did. And we didn't lose another game, I don't think, until we had won the league, when it didn't matter, and we were actually preparing for the Scottish Cup final,
which Celtic won against Hibs 3-0, the same scoreline as the CIS Cup final against Kilmarnock, and all 3 trophies were secured in Martin O'Neill's first season at the club. The first treble since season 68-69, the seeds of which were planted on August 27th, 2000. Celtic 6, Rangers 2. This documentary was compiled, written and produced by Andy Bargh. Martin O'Neill was interviewed by Alison McConnell. The commentary is by Ian Crocker for Sky Sports. This was a NewsQuest production for the Celtic Way.